Can you identify this flag?
Definitely something to do with Quebec because of the symbols. So let's go City of Montreal.
Do you know what the 5 floral emblems represent?
The fleur de lis is for Quebec. The one below is, I believe, a thistle for maybe Scotland, Scottish heritage.
Montreal is one of the largest French-speaking cities in the world. So why do 3 of the 5 floral emblems represent English-speaking countries?
Pourquoi les 3 des 5 représentent des pays anglophones? Eh boy.
Ah, ça j'en ai aucune idée.
Most Montrealers do not know the history represented by the flag of their own city. This is odd in a land whose motto declares the importance of remembering. The inhabitants of Montreal do remember that it was once part of Nouvelle-France. The French-speaking population of the territory was outnumbered by the English speakers of British North America, 70,000 to 1,600,000. By the mid-1800s, the rapidly growing English-speaking population of Montreal had passed 50%. The future appeared predictable and inevitable.
When my ancestors arrived, there was roughly an equal number of English and French in Montreal. There were a lot of Irish people here already.
The street I lived on High Street, and when I was growing up, there were no French families there.
It's really changed during my lifetime. In the Montreal I grew up in, it was quite possible to continue in the English language and never touch the French language except for peripherally.
My parents left Italy after the end of the Second World War. The country was ravaged economically, very unstable politically.
Well, Hungary was in the middle of an uprising in '56.
My mother was fleeing from the Cultural Revolution in China.
Grandparents spoke perfect French, perfect Moroccan French, not Quebecois French. So there was no English in their household. They spoke French, and they spoke French to my parents. But my parents then, my dad went to an English school.
When my grandparents, my father arrived, he was 7, just about 8 years old. And at that point, there was absolutely no Bill 101. He was an immigrant and he was Jewish. There was no way that he would be accepted in the Francophone schools.
Anecdotally, I think it's well understood that Quebecois did turn away a lot of immigrant kids from their schools back in the 40s and 50s and even into the early 60s.
The French-speaking Catholic school system had created a demographic time bomb by pushing away so many immigrants. The unstable, volatile situation exploded between the FLQ violence of the 1960s and the second referendum in 1995.
It's my first year teaching, and of course we did have the bomb threats.
A lot of fear, especially around the FLQ. Because of, the threat of violence.
If I go back to grade 2 or grade 3, I remember being told that I could no longer walk to school. It was an 8 or a 10 block walk because mailboxes were blowing up in our neighborhoods.
Do you remember how many bombings the FLQ was responsible for between 1963 and 1970?
I was shocked from that film how many there were.
The National Revenue Building, the RCMP headquarters, the Canadian National Railways, the Black Watch Armory, the Royal Canadian Air Force, the Queen Victoria Monument. In 7 years, 6 people were killed. But Walter Leger survived a direct blast while trying to defuse a bomb in a mailbox in Westmount.
That guy was the nephew of our next door neighbor.
It was a scary time because the conspiracies were abound. Like, once we get separated, all the immigrants will lose their houses. It'll be our houses.
For our family, and I'd probably say, much of the Chinese community, 70s and 80s, sadness. 90s, fear.
My choice of Quebec goes all the way back to 1995. So I chose Quebec in the craziest year, of course, the year of the referendum.
Arriving here, I knew absolutely nothing about it. But my first semester in CEGEP, first class, our teacher said, everybody take out sheets of paper and pen. We're going to have a quiz. The question is, what do you think of Bill 101? Everybody started writing, and I raised my hand and I said, I'm not sure what you're talking about. And you don't know what Bill 101 is. And he seemed to have taken it personally.
Before I arrived here, I know there was long, complicated history between the Anglophone and Francophone in Quebec. But in my mind, I thought it was in the past. It's in the history.
History is ephemeral and dependent upon what we choose to remember.